Okay, so the idea is to take any of these licks and vary them in all of these methodic ways. So you learn to play the licks in every possible variation. That's what's going to make them useful. So you don't just take a lick and play it and be done with it. Basic lick we've got here is just a little descending sequence. So 5, 7, 5, 7, and then 7, 5, 7, 5. What we want to do is group those into groups of 4. So you have a bunch of 4-note groupings. You have that one if you start on the first note. You have this one if you start on the second note. You have this one in the lick if you start on the third note. So if you start on the fourth note in the lick, you get this. If you start on the fifth note, you get. And then you get, if you start on the last 3 notes and go back to the beginning, you get. If you start on the last 2 notes, go back to the beginning and play the first 2 notes, you get. Start on the last note and play the first 3 notes. So those are some variations on their own, but we're going to take each of those little sub-licks and turn them into bits and pieces on their own. And the key to doing that is to follow this little basic pattern. I'm going to give a little beat here, a shuffle pattern. Take those first 4 notes. Play the first 2. And we're going to do 3 rhythmic levels for every one of these licks. First 2 notes, play it as 8th notes. So for each of these beats, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now do triplets. Same notes, but played as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now, 16th notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that was just the first 2 notes. One of the other things you can do is repeat each of the notes in that grouping. So still the first 2 notes, we're going to repeat the first one. Same thing, 8th notes, triplets, quadruplets. So here's the 8th notes. Repeat different number of times. Triplets. Now quadruplets. Still just on the first 2 notes. Now take the second note, repeat it. Any number of repeats. That was 8th notes, now triplets. So again, just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now 4s. Any number of repeats. That's just the first 2 notes. Take now the first 3 notes. So we get this. Play it as 8th notes. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and dun 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 dun. Triplets. Quadruplets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Now you can take those 3 notes and do the same thing. Repeat the first 3 notes. Either as 8th notes, triplets, or quadruplets. So triplets, 8th notes. Same 3 notes. Repeat the second note. Repeat the third note. 8th notes, triplets. Triplets, quadruplets. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4 for each beat. Now take just the first two notes and then play the third note. Again, eighth notes, triplets, quadruplets. Triplets. So that was the first two notes, then play the third note. Now I'll play the first note and repeat the second two notes. Eighth notes. And then triplets. Quadruplets. Okay, now take the first four notes. Same thing, repeat each of the notes. Repeat the second note. Repeat the third note. Repeat the fourth note. Repeat the first two notes. In every rhythm. So it's four notes, but repeating is the first two. Repeat the second two. Repeat the last two. Repeat the last one going back to the first one. Repeat the first three notes now. Still playing the first four notes, but repeating the three notes. You can do that as eighth notes. That's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, dividing each beat in two. Triplets, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3. Or fours. Or play now the last three notes. Playing the first note and repeating the last three. Eighth, triplet, and quadruplet. Or you can play the first three, repeat the last two going back to the beginning. Okay, do that with every single variation of one repeat, two note repeat, and three note repeats on every grouping of 1, 2, and 3, and 4 notes. When you're done with that first lick of 4 notes, you landed 4 notes out of the lick. Now do the next 4. So if the lick is, we're going to drop off that first note. We're going to not stop there, start there, but start on the next one. So out of this, we're going to drop that first one you get. Those are the next 4 notes in the lick. Do the exact same thing there. So start with these 4 notes. The second, third, fourth, and fifth notes in the lick. And we do the same treatment with it. Repeat the first note. Repeat the second note. So it's watch the tab and watch these notes so you see which ones you're on. Repeat every one of the notes, then repeat each grouping of notes. So take the first 2 notes in every rhythm. Play the whole 4-note lick, but repeating the first 2 notes. So you get. Or repeat the next 2 notes. So out of this 4 notes, repeat the second 2. Starts on 7, repeats this, ends on 7, then does a 7 again. And of course do that on all the rhythms. Repeat the last 2 notes. That was actually the middle 2 notes, so repeat the last 2 notes. And you can of course repeat the last note going back to the first note. You do the same thing with every group of 4 notes. Treat it all in the same way. When you get to the end of the lick, say we have the last 3 notes in the lick. So these last 3 notes are, go back to the beginning, loop that around, so you get, that's 4 notes at the end. You can treat those 4 notes the exact same way. Repeat each note. Repeat the second note. Or repeat the third note. All this comes from that one stupid little, these are all moves that are contained in that lick. You can do the same thing with those last 4 notes. Do the first 3 notes of that grouping. Like that. Repeat 3, or repeat the last 3 notes of that group. You get a totally varied set of licks. That's a short version of going through all the possibilities without doing all the rhythms in this video. And without doing, we only did basically one full set of variations of 4 notes. You've got all those groupings of 4 notes. And we're only doing minor pentatonic first position, one lick. We've only even kind of begun to explore one lick here. Is that stupid little one lick becomes literally thousands of variations. And you start doing that with, say, take another lick, do the exact same thing. Take the first 4 notes, repeat that, and do the same thing. Repeat the first note, do the first 2 notes, or the first 3 notes. So you get repeating 3 notes, or take the second group of 3 notes in that 4 notes. So and if you go somewhere in the middle, you're going to get something that sounds like this. That's out of, if I start on the 4th note in that and I do, you get 4 notes on there to repeat and alter rhythmically and do the 1 note repeats, the 2 note repeats, the 3 note repeats, and you get totally different licks. All contained in that little simple kind of classic little bend. You can learn a single solo and get literally thousands of variations out of every lick. By the time you do all the permutations of every combination of every one of those licks, you have a vocabulary of licks that will truly go forever. And right now, we're only doing those licks in one scale and one position. You learn to put these in major and minor pentatonic, learn to put them in the modes like Dorian, learn to play them over each chord and a chord progression. You can do all these moves all over the fretboard, even if you're just doing first position, and you get literally an unlimited set of things that you can play over any chord progression. And that's if you just play over one chord progression. Change the character, move to a different chord progression, change the sound you're using, change the rhythm of the background, and of course, you're singing a song, play different words, sing different words. All of these things go together to give you all of the literally unlimited possibilities of variations just by learning. You learn 1 page of licks, and you can turn these into millions and millions of licks that are useful. And the key is to learn to develop the practice skill to actually do that, not to try and do it randomly and come up with some variations on a handful of licks, but to really rigorously work through each of those licks so that they're so you've gone through every possibility of all these variations and repeats, and starting in one point and stopping at a different point, playing 3 notes, playing 4 notes, playing 2 notes, doing different rhythms. If you do that rigorously, methodically, using this little pattern, doing 1, then 2, then 3 in every position, you're going to get all the possibilities that come from every move, and that is what makes you a capable player.